The cameras flashed, the crowd froze. Hot pink billboards lit up the Manhattan skyline. And just like that, well, Hollywood had a new obsession. Welcome to StarScope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
I mean, that opening sequence is basically the kind of thing usually reserved for, a summer blockbuster. Meticulously storyboarded and executed to absolute perfection.
Right, but this was unfolding in real time, right in the center of New York City.
Yeah, it was wild.
It really was. For you listening right now, we are zeroing in on July 3, 2026, the day Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce took over Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden. I still can't get over that venue choice.
Yeah. And while the visuals of this event were staggering, today's deep dive is not about analyzing floral arrangements or, rating custom couture.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Because the headline that dominated the week wasn't about the vows at all.
Exactly. It was this Taylor Swift's wedding guest list left everyone shocked.
Yeah. And to understand why, we really have to look past the glitz and examine this event as a masterclass in modern public relations and brand preservation. Because, well, it shows the highly calculated reality of Hollywood friendships.
It totally does. Let's start with the logistics. Because renting out MSG for a private event of 1,000 people, that requires the operational complexity of a geopolitical summit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about displacing scheduled arena tours, negotiating with multiple New York City labor unions, and coordinating street closures with the NYPD.
The NYPD must have been losing their mind.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Plus, enforcing non-disclosure agreements with thousands of venue staff. Like, just think about that.
Wait. I read that over $2 million had been wagered in prediction markets just trying to guess the location.
Yes, $2 million. Because executing a total blackout on an event this massive is, theoretically impossible in the smartphone era.
Right, someone always leaks something. Which brings up the first major theme of this deep dive, which is control. Think about how you maintain that level of absolute narrative control.
It's all in the aesthetics. They were engineered to project legacy and permanence. Both the bride and groom wore Christian Dior haute couture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And according to industry reports, this was creative director Jonathan Anderson's very first couture wedding design for a global celebrity.
I didn't realize it was his first. That is huge.
It is. You pair that with custom Christian Louboutin footwear and archived Cartier jewelry for Taylor. It was flawless.
But then, and I love this detail, they deliberately inverted expectations with the wedding party.
Yes, this is fascinating.
Right, because they didn't have a sprawling, predictable lineup of famous bridesmaids or groomsmen.
Yeah, that inversion is a crucial piece of the puzzle here. Because Austin Swift served as the man of honor. And Jason Kelce stepped in as the best man.
Yeah.
The flower girls were Jason and Cully Kelce's children.
So sweet, but also so smart.
Exactly. By restricting the innermost circle strictly to immediate family, they successfully inoculated themselves against a very specific type of media scrutiny.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, if you have 10 famous bridesmaids, the press immediately ranks them.
Right. They dissect who stands where. They analyze their body language. Like, oh, why is she standing 2 people away?
So true. So shrinking the core party to family eliminates that entire secondary gossip market.
Allowing the focus to remain entirely on the couple.
Brilliant. And then they inject this surreal pop culture fever dream into the ceremony. Adam Sandler isn't just attending, he is officially officiating the wedding.
I literally gasped when I saw that. Adam Sandler.
I know. And he sings an original song he wrote for them. Meanwhile, a string quartet is playing orchestral versions of Taylor's own discography as she walks down the aisle.
Picture being one of the 1,000 people in that room. It's iconic.
And outside, you've got jumbotrons flashing Justin T. married to thousands of people in the streets.
Inside, Adam Sandler is legally binding a billionaire pop icon and a future Hall of Fame tight end.
It's insane. And the rehearsal dinner the night before on July 2nd was just as crazy. 100 guests received black velvet boxes etched with TNT.
Oh, the boxes.
Yeah.
Containing a diamond-adorned champagne flute.
Yes. And a frayed fabric photo of their August 2025 engagement in Lee's Summit.
See, but the sheer scale of all of this creates an immediate PR liability, though.
How so?
Well, when an event crosses the threshold from lavish to historic, the public narrative can sour very quickly.
Ah, right. Eat the rich kind of vibes.
Exactly. The optics of a Manhattan Arena takeover, diamond-adorned flutes, and custom Dior can easily mutate into a story about grotesque wealth hoarding.
Which explains the timing of the philanthropy.
Yes.
Because leading up to the wedding week, the couple systematically donated $26 million to over 20 charities.
$26 million.
Yeah. We are talking about massive infusions of cash to Feeding America, the ASPCA, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, pediatric cancer programs, regional food banks. To you listening, it might just look like immense generosity. And, it absolutely is. But there is a mechanical brilliance to the timing.
It functions as anticipatory crisis management. In public relations, you cannot allow a vacuum to form around an event this expensive.
Right. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Exactly. If the media wants to write about the astronomical cost of the wedding, the $26 million in charitable giving forces them to balance the ledger in the very same article.
Wow. So the philanthropy acts as a shield.
Yep, ensuring the dominant headline remains about their positive impact rather than their excess capital.
I want to introduce a framing analogy here. Looking at the NDAs, the strategic charity drops, the venue lockdown, and the tightly controlled visual assets. Is this a wedding or a highly orchestrated corporate merger?
I mean, that is the million-dollar question.
Right, because when you strip away the romance, it operates identically to two Fortune 500 companies consolidating their assets, complete with a board of directors, brand alignment strategies, and risk mitigation.
Calling it a corporate merger is perhaps the most accurate lens to view it through. When your personal life generates billions of dollars in economic activity, the distinction between a personal milestone and a brand activation basically ceases to exist.
Right. It's all one and the same.
Every detail, down to the font on the rehearsal dinner invitations, is a heavily vetted corporate communication.
But while 1,000 people made the cut to witness this corporate merger, the biggest story of the night was the one person who didn't. And that's not even the wildest part.
Oh man, the guest list.
Yeah.
To appreciate the absence, we really have to map out who was actually in the room.
Because the guest list was an unprecedented synthesis of America's two most dominant entertainment monoliths.
Yeah, you had the NFL royalty completely overlapping with Hollywood's A-list.
It was crazy. You had Patrick and Brittany Mahomes, Tom Brady, George Kittle, Matthew Stafford, Andy Reid.
Just casually mingling.
All of them sharing oxygen with Gigi Hadid, Bradley Cooper, Ed Sheeran, Karlie Kloss, and Abby Wambach.
It was basically a physical manifestation of the crossover that dominated the 2023 and 2024 football seasons.
Exactly. But within that curated list, there was a very specific architectural strategy being deployed. According to reports from Page 6 and Radar Online, Taylor's team executed what was termed full inclusion mode.
Full inclusion mode. Let's break down the mechanics of that for the listener.
Yeah, explain that.
The strategy relies on casting the widest possible net. So you invite ex-collaborators, distant industry acquaintances, people you haven't actively socialized with in a half-decade.
Just anyone you've ever worked with.
Pretty much. The logic is that by flooding the arena with everyone tangentially related to your career, nobody can look at the crowd and say, wait, why wasn't so-and-so there?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it is supposed to extinguish feud rumors before they can even spark.
So it is the guest list equivalent of a white noise machine.
Exactly. If you invite 1,000 people, the sheer volume of attendees drowns out any individual narrative.
Except, of course, when the person excluded is a core pillar of your public lore. Deliberately missing from this sprawling inclusive list were Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
Oof. Yeah, and this is the moment the headline makes perfect sense. For anyone who has followed this orbit, you know how intertwined Blake and Taylor were.
They weren't just friends, they were aggressively public best friends.
Constantly photographed together.
Yes. Blake's children, James, Tianez, Betty, they are permanently canonized in the folklore album.
Literally named in the songs.
Blake even directed one of Taylor's music videos. They were sold to the public as chosen family.
Which fundamentally breaks the inclusion mode strategy.
How so?
Because you invite distant acquaintances to create a veneer of universal harmony, right?
Mm.
But then you actively bar the woman whose children are immortalized in your Grammy-winning album.
So I have to challenge the effectiveness of this PR move then. If the goal was to avoid gossip, doesn't inviting 1,000 people and actively snubbing your former best friend operate like a neon sign pointing at an empty chair?
It does feel that way.
By trying to suppress the feud narrative, didn't this hyper-calculated exclusion just pour gasoline on it? Now you might be thinking, Why not just invite Blake, seat her in the back, and tell the press everything is fine? Why go nuclear?
Well, because in the tier of brand management we are discussing, a passive relationship fade just isn't viable.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, the absence generates intense, immediate gossip, but it also establishes an airtight, unbreachable boundary.
Ah.
By deploying inclusion mode for everyone else and explicitly locking out Lively and Reynolds, Taylor is surgically removing them from her cinematic universe.
Wow.
It is a definitive statement that the association is permanently severed. A back row invitation leaves room for speculation, but a complete snub closes the door.
It is a ruthless execution of boundary setting. If you're loving these Hollywood twists and want to understand the invisible machinery running the entertainment industry, make sure you're subscribed to StarScope Report. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
So, to understand why a boundary that severe had to be drawn in the first place, we have to examine the catalyst. Friendships at this level of fame rarely implode over personal slights.
Right, it's rarely about a mistext.
No, they implode when one person's orbit becomes an existential threat to the other person's brand.
And later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming, the $400 million legal battle that fundamentally altered a decade-long friendship.
The origin point for that empty chair at Madison Square Garden traces back to January 2025, during the protracted fallout surrounding the film adaptation of It Ends With Us.
Let's walk through the mechanics of what actually happened. Justin Baldoni, the director and co-star of the film, filed a staggering $400 million lawsuit against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and their PR team.
$400 million.
Yeah. The suit alleged defamation, extortion, and tortious interference with his career. Now, we are entirely impartial here. We are just reporting the mechanics of the legal filing.
Right, just the facts?
But the listener needs to understand that a $400 million lawsuit in Hollywood isn't just a disagreement, it is a structural collapse.
It acts like a massive sinkhole. Because when litigation of that magnitude opens up, it doesn't just swallow the people named in the filing.
Who else does it take down?
Well, the most dangerous element of a lawsuit is the discovery phase. Discovery is the legal mechanism where opposing counsel gains the right to demand private communications, emails, server logs, and text messages to build their case.
Oh boy. And that sinkhole rapidly expanded to pull in adjacent properties. Because Taylor Swift, who had absolutely nothing to do with the production or financing of It Ends With Us, was suddenly dragged into the blast zone.
Yes.
She was subpoenaed to testify.
We need to unpack why a subpoena is a nightmare scenario for a curated brand.
I can only imagine.
A subpoena strips away your autonomy. It forces a billionaire whose entire empire is built on controlled messaging into a deposition room, under oath, to answer aggressive questions on the record about a toxic workplace dispute she wasn't even involved in.
That sounds horrible for someone like her.
Exactly. Even though Baldoni later dropped the subpoena, the sheer threat of being legally compelled to participate is a massive liability.
But the sinkhole didn't stop there. In January 2026, as part of the ongoing court filings, private text messages between Taylor and Blake were leaked to the public.
And those leaked texts were the fatal blow.
Yeah.
They revealed a dynamic where Swift was allegedly being pressured by Lively to publicly, blindly endorse a revised cut of the script without Swift having actually reviewed the material.
Think about the mechanics of an endorsement from this particular artist.
It's unparalleled.
Her endorsement moves global economies. It shifts voter registrations. It sells out stadiums. For the public to see a text exchange where a friend is attempting to leverage that unprecedented cultural influence for a petty Hollywood power struggle, it pulls back the curtain in a way that damages both of them.
Absolutely.
It attaches Taylor's pristine, fiercely protected brand to an ugly, vindictive legal fight.
Which answers your earlier question about why a passive fade wouldn't work. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed in June 2025, but the structural damage to the friendship was terminal.
There was no coming back from that.
No. When a friend's professional chaos generates subpoenas with your legal name on them and leaks your private texts into the public domain, that friendship transitions from a personal relationship to an unacceptable corporate risk.
This brings us to the fascinating counter-PR strategy deployed on the actual day of the wedding. It is July 3, 2026. Manhattan is gridlocked. 1,000 celebrities are funneling into Madison Square Garden. Where are Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds?
Well, according to widespread entertainment reporting that weekend, they were photographed multiple times in Lake Placid, New York.
Lake Placid? Doing what?
Attending a children's equestrian competition for their daughter.
Let's analyze the visual language of this response because it is deeply deliberate. You have the wedding of the century happening 300 miles south, dripping in Cartier diamonds and Dior couture.
And Adam Sandler.
And Adam Sandler. And up in Lake Placid, Blake and Ryan are aggressively projecting mundane, upstate New York normalcy.
Sun hats, muddy boots, folding chairs.
Exactly. Insiders told the press their strategy was simply to be seen.
It is a textbook application of counter-programming.
Like fighting fire with normalcy.
Basically. In the PR ecosystem, if you are publicly excluded from a monolithic event, your worst enemy is silence. If you stay inside your house and avoid the cameras, the media narrative immediately paints you as wounded, humiliated, and hiding in shame. You become the victim of the snub.
So how do you actively defang the narrative that you've been crushed by this exclusion?
You deploy an aesthetic juxtaposition.
Okay, break that down.
By ensuring the paparazzi capture you engaging in a highly visible, incredibly wholesome, unglamorous family activity, you project immunity. The muddy boots and folding chairs at a children's horse show are meant to communicate. We are so unbothered by this Hollywood spectacle and so grounded in what truly matters that we aren't even thinking about Madison Square Garden.
Wow, so it is a deliberate visual shield against the humiliation of the empty chair.
Exactly.
But I want to ask you, the listener, to put yourself in the center of this PR war room. Can we really fault Taylor for the initial snub?
That's the real debate.
If you have spent 2 decades building a billion-dollar empire, cultivating intense fan loyalty, and managing your public image down to the millimeter, what are your options? When an old friend's messy $400 million lawsuit starts generating toxic legal radiation that threatens your peace, did she actually have a choice?
It's tough.
Or is cutting ties just the brutal cost of doing business at that altitude?
From a strictly analytical standpoint, the preservation of the brand must supersede the preservation of the friendship.
It's sad, but true.
The liability was simply too high. The leaked texts alone demonstrated a fundamental misunderstanding of the boundaries required to operate safely in Swift's orbit.
It reveals how impossible it is to untangle the personal from the professional when you are a walking economy. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next in the world of cop culture.
Synthesizing all of this, from the strategic deployment of $26 million in charity, to the weaponization of the guest list, down to the visual counter-programming at a horse show, it is a stark reminder.
Of what?
At this echelon of fame, every human interaction is filtered through a prism of risk management.
It transforms our understanding of the entire event. This deep dive shows us that when your life is an enterprise, your wedding guest list is not a reflection of your address book. It is a meticulously crafted brand document.
Completing.
The inclusion mode strategy wasn't about being nice, it was about isolating a liability. And it leaves us with a fascinating psychological question.
What's that?
What would you do if your closest confidant tried to leverage your reputation to win their own battle? Would you stand by them through the subpoenas and the leaks, or would you close the iron gates to protect what you built?
It really strips away the illusion of the Hollywood fairy tale and replaces it with the stark reality of corporate self-preservation.
Which leaves us with one final, deeply cynical thought to mull over. We've unpacked the surgical removal of this friendship, but knowing how the machinery of Hollywood operates, is this highly publicized, brutal snub truly the end of the story?
Well, that's a good point.
Or, in an industry where attention is the only currency that matters, is this spectacular public break just laying the groundwork for the most lucrative, narrative-shifting, highly orchestrated reconciliation era a few years down the line?
I wouldn't put it past them.
Only time and the PR teams will tell. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.